Hello, everybody. It's Bubba Rob. How's it going? Good, I hope. The old thumbs up. Anyways, I'm minus my beard. I think it makes me look younger. What do you think? Anyways, I'm glad everybody's doing good or as good as you can be. I've got conversation I'd like to have with you. A topic of the day. And there's a term that has come to my attention that I wasn't really aware of, and it's called community collapse. And anyways, how it came to my attention, I was watching an interview on a channel called Channel 5 News. It's an Andrew Callahan, and he was interviewing Hunter Biden and Nick Fuentes, and it was extremely interesting. I mean, I really think everybody should watch that. But anyways, this term community collapse came up, and it was actually by Hunter Biden, and they're talking about in reference to what's happened in society after the pandemic. And I'll have a little story to tell you about myself personally, then I'll explain it to you what I mean by it. Anyways, but first, I want to read out a definition, and I asked Google, so the AI portion popped this up. I don't really like using AI, but I thought this was quite relevant. But anyways, community collapse is the breakdown of a local group or broader society marked by loss of social connection, the failure of governance or shared rules, and the inability to meet basic human needs. Key signs of collapse: loss of connection, neighbors stop trusting or helping in each other, and local groups fall apart. Failing infrastructure, essential systems like clean water, power, healthcare, and food distribution stop working reliably. 3, government failure. Leaders and laws lose authority, leading to rising conflict and disorder. Common causes are resource shortages, running out of water, fertile soil, or energy to keep things running. Environmental stress, severe weather, natural disasters, or climate shifts. And economic strain, extreme costs of living, broken trade networks, or job loss. But what I want to, is focus on loss of connection. And kind of what got my mind going on it this morning. I was getting out of the car going out for my tea, and I ran into a fella I know, loosely know. To be honest with you, I can't even remember his name. And he just retired from the post office, and we're talking about retirement, and he's already seen like a loss of connection with the people that he doesn't see and talk to anymore, and it's a bit of a strange feeling for him. And so we talked a bit about that, and I talked to him about a situation I have had this week, and this is what I want to talk about. Now, when I mention it, it's not to slight anybody or demean anybody or anything like that. But what I want to do is point out the change in people with their habits, especially social habits. And it's not really good as far as personal connection or community connections as a whole, because a lot of people do it. Because when you go into the coffee shop, I mean, really, how many people have a conversation anymore, right? A lot of times I just got my headphones on and I'm listening to music so I can focus on the book that I'm reading, because I don't really want to hear what's going on. And then, like today, I had a pretty good conversation in the parking lot when that happened. And also, when a friend of mine and his son and my buddy Jeff showed up, a couple other people. So we all kind of had little conversations, right? And with the staff. And, you know, there's two things I actually want to talk about. Because a few days ago, I went in there and there was a young gal sitting in the corner, I would say maybe 14, 15, 16, and she looked kind of distraught. And I mentioned it to the staff member, and she was quite concerned. And she kind of had an eye out for her. So you know, good on the staff. And when I went in today, the staff member who was talking to me about her before, and we were both kind of watching out for this young gal, told me that she didn't feel good about it, so she made the call, and it ended up that she was a missing teen, and the police united her back with her parents. I mean, I just love that. That's a great story. It's very sad that whatever the young gal was doing, that she was missing. But I'm glad she was found and she was safe. And, you know, hopefully the situation with her family is good. But it is another example. Oh, there's a truck going by with the toilets. Anyways, you know, people that are looking out and they're communicating, they're being present to notice what's going on. You know, so there's a very positive outcome with that. But again, there's an example possibly of somebody who's feeling quite lonely. It might be too much into social media. There's a disconnect. There's obviously a communication issue where the young girl wouldn't be going through what she's going through. It's just my opinion. You know, I see it quite a bit. You know, it just kind of is what it is. But the other situation is like I've talked about this on my channel. Like this week, I got to go for an echocardiogram, and I'm a little bit stressed out about it. And the reason being is I had an MRI done a couple months ago. They did a full body MRI, and they found there's a possible growth to the aortic root. Possibly not, because I found out that when they do an echo and an MRI, they measure at different points. So that may not have been completely telling the right story or accurate. But anyway, so I was kind of stressing out. You know, I reached out to a few different people I know. And actually, two of them I'm related to. The sad part is I just can't phone. Because when you make a phone call, they don't pick up the phone. Or they're sending a text. Why didn't you text me first to tell me that you're flipping phoning me? Right? Like, what kind of horseshit is that now? It's unbelievable. That's just a loss of connection. That's like, that in itself now really is a mental health issue. Anyways, sorry for the rant. It bothers me to no end that people can't communicate. So anyways, so there's 5 different people I try and have contact with. You know, and it kind of came to a head with me yesterday. A friend of mine I've been friends with many, many years. You know, we were texting yesterday, just a couple texts, and she basically blew it off. And, you know, that really upset me. So, anyways, I don't know what's going on in anybody else's head or what's going on. So really, I shouldn't take offense to it. Or maybe I should. So I was, you know, taking my blood pressure, and I was meditating to bring my blood pressure down because my blood pressure is not supposed to be up. I'm very, very careful with that, right? That could be a huge problem for me. So I had a chat with my son last night as we were having dinner. And I told him, I said, I need to talk to you about something. I said, I'm really upset and it's got nothing to do with you. So what is it, Papa? I told him what happened. It's the same thing that happened last week. I wasn't able to make it to Vancouver because I had a gout attack, and I tried to phone to apologize, and the phone call wasn't accepted. I was trying to do the right thing. It really upset me. It's really quite disrespectful. So I was talking to him why I was disappointed in people lately, and he said to me, he says, you got to do what I do. I said, what is it? He says, you're out there helping people. You're doing your YouTube channel, and you're giving people advice. And he says, you gotta kind of listen to yourself a little bit sometimes. He says, when somebody does something like that to me, he said, and they don't pick up the phone, or if they know I'm going through something and they don't wish to return the phone call, he says, I just don't talk to them anymore. He says, why reach out and be disappointed? He says, they only do it to me once. He said, that's it. He says, I've learned from watching you and helping people. He says, I don't know how many times you've helped people and they're not there. And I said, you're right. I said, they haven't been. He says, it's not that they don't appreciate it. It's not that they don't care. He says, there's a disconnect. It's the way people are now. He says, it's a problem. Then we got into a conversation a bit, how his friends are and how they react and the issues that are going on with the youth right now in their 20s. This is a big problem. What does personal interactions happen with? Why would be a reference to community collapse? Well, it's the whole problem. It affects all of us. It's our community, and it's really sad. It's really sad. And I'm trying to put this message out there to people, not to out anybody or to have people feel bad, because I don't know what they're going through. There might be a reasonable explanation. But me as a human being, I have to take care of myself. That's it. So you people out there, if you're struggling with this, don't take offense what people do, because it's really all about them and it's nothing about yourself. If they can't support you for whatever reason, you gotta let it go. Because I'll tell you, it's not good. It's really not good. And I personally don't wish to have my own health, mental or physical or spiritual health, deteriorate because somebody can't take the time now to make a phone call to see how I'm doing. That's it. It's the end of it. It's to me, and I could be totally wrong, but if something has changed in you to the point to where you can't communicate, you need to get some help. Because when that goes, that is the ultimate sign of selfishness. It really is. I'm sorry. It's just the way I feel. But anyways, I want people to do better. I would like to see people to say join more community organizations, go over to the coffee shop, take your headphones off, have a chat with your neighbor, whatever it is. If you haven't seen somebody for a while, reach out, give them a call, and just see how they're doing. Right? You know, it's not good to see someone like that young girl in the coffee shop that's having a rough time. Right? Anyways, I want to just say I love y'all. I want you to have a great day. Most important thing is to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and really think about that. Think about your actions a bit, right? You're only going to get it back what you put out. That's how it works, right? And if you're putting out something and you're not receiving it, just move on, okay? Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.